Hello and welcome along to the final SUTV show of this season. A tough season for the Blades, but let's take a look at some of the highlights.
When blood hits the battleground, will you fight or will you fall? When you hear the siren sound, is there trembling in your bones? War is fury, there's no mercy. No mercy.
A busy show coming up today, and we have a special feature from Inside Matters by the Premier League campaign, which is all about mental health. Tom Davies will be joining Carl and I for a chat on that one. And we also have a special feature today, which is going to feature Carl himself, as you've been sending in questions which you'd like to put to Carl. So we're going to do a bit of a Ask a Sarber section. And of course, Carl and I will be looking ahead to our final game this weekend as we welcome Tottenham to the lane. But Carl, first, let's go back to Everton then at the weekend. Firstly, I want to talk about the fans and the reception they gave them, the players, at the end of that game. And it looked quite emotional.
Yeah, the highlight of the game really was the fans. Throughout it, they were so vocal. They turned up en masse again. The support from start to finish was incredible. You see on the Everton fan forums that just crediting our fans. And, you know, it's been such a tricky season for supporters, yet our fans have been incredible. And, you know, the way they cheered the players on, and the way at the end when Chris said he was emotional going over to them, because the fans deserve so much more to celebrate this season. But no, full credit to them. It shows what this club means to the fans, and any player there who was in any doubt that this is more than just what happens on the field. It's like a community, and it's for. They're so proud that, everyone will understand now.
And that game was a narrow defeat because it wasn't without chances from us.
Yeah, it was a tough match because obviously everyone's fate was already dealt with. But, a narrow defeat against a team banging form, very, a wonderful ground atmosphere. It made a great occasion. Just, again, unfortunate. Our Achilles heel this season is the defending, and it was another soft goal as well. But we did create chances. There were good individual performances out there, and unfortunately, we didn't get to take our chances yet again. So another narrow loss.
And we saw two changes to the starting 11 as well. We saw Larouci and Sousa come back in as well for that starting 11.
Yeah, the manager trying them out. Vinny in the defence in place of Anel, who was suspended. I think we all know it's going to be a vastly different lineup next season. The boys who went out there on Saturday, they applied themselves. They huffed and puffed, and unfortunately they didn't get the goals. But I think we know there's a number of good players in there which we are looking to retain and will be part of plans next season. But it's starkly clear that there's going to be a number of changes, and the lineup next season is going to be very different, and the way they go about their matches is going to be very different.
And Chris did speak about that in his post-presser as well from the match, saying we haven't been able to execute that full 90 minutes, and that is what you need in the Premier League.
You have to, and everyone needs to understand as well. It's hard to, I'm as positive as I can always be about the players because I know they are trying their hardest. And you must remember, even though it's been a record lost season, the goals conceded, this team that have gone out there, it's not been put together for the Premier League. If it was, we would have an injection of a Premier League proven centre half. The team has been put together to cope with our financial situation, and we've righted so many, the board and the owner, they've righted so many things off the field. and it has been at the on-field expense. If you go into the Premiership, you need to add Premiership experience down your spine, and we weren't able to do it. So it's hard to watch and to not be critical, but we do have to remember the team didn't get that injection of the players. We sold two of our best players, and we didn't replace them with Premiership proven. So, the writing was on the wall at the start, but we must remember the long-term picture will hopefully be positive. So the on-field has been at a loss for what's happening off the field.
And of course, we had another Premier League debut as well for our younger lads in the team as well, for Sam Curtis.
Yes, it's a much lauded Sam Curtis, the right back, who was coveted by many clubs. He went in with a crunching tackle that the Blades fans will have loved. It was one of the things that gave me some heart in the most cramped commentary box I've ever known. I was needing to see the physio after. It was shocking. But no, it's his first step in what we hope will be a very good Blades career.
And we saw Max Lowe as well return on the pitch for a very long time. I think his last game was Luton.
Yeah, it was great to see him back. He offered an outlet up top. And we're getting a few players back now, but there's going to be changes in the summer, and we'll just see how things go from there.
This week it's Mental Health Awareness Week, and the Premier League have launched their campaign Inside Matters in collaboration with the Mental Health Foundation to encourage fans to check in with one another and kickstart conversations about mental health. Well, Tom Davies is here to join me and Carl to kickstart our conversation about mental health. Guys, your experiences in football and what sort of experience have you had with mental health yourself, Tom?
Well, yeah, it's been a tough journey and a good journey for me. I think I've had ups and downs, and I think that's the key for mental health, is that it's people always think it's a negative thing, but it can be positive, and you've got to understand that as a person. I think breaking into the first team so young, and then really progressing well, becoming captain, starting for Everton, and then getting injuries, moving club, picking another injury up here. It can be a very turbulent sort of journey for a football player, especially at such a young age. So yeah, I've had plenty of experience. I'm glad that now in the modern day we're getting a lot more attention on it and shining a lot more light, because I think the more we speak about it, the more it becomes like a natural thing, and people can see people like me or the Premier League players talking about it. They may feel more comfortable to speak about it themselves.
Yeah, and obviously we've seen people like Richarlison come out and speak about his mental health and depression as well. How important do you guys think that is, just to see people like them come out and say to other people it's okay to have these conversations?
Yeah, again, Richarlison, he plays for Brazil's national team. He plays for one of the best teams in the Premier League. So someone at that stage, you think they've got everything they want in the world. They're doing what they love, but that's not always the case. And I think I played with Richarlison, and he was always a bright and happy kid, and I would never expect him to have experienced them things and find out that he was struggling. Was even me watching it made me think about my career and my life, and it was really touching, the interview we done. So hopefully people see that, and they see that their idols and superstars in the Premier League talking about it. They think, well, there's a chance for me to open up to a friend, family member, whoever it may be.
And obviously we were just chatting, Carl, off camera before we started this interview about obviously social media is a massive thing now with footballers as well, and trying to keep away from that a little bit when you've got games coming up. But even for you, before social media, when you were playing,
computers were about, yeah.
Obviously that was still there for you guys. Can you tell me about one of your experiences as well?
Obviously myself, my biggest problems that I had were injury related. If you can't be on the pitch, you can't affect the game, and you can't do what you're paid for. And the perception that players, when they're injured, there's not a problem and they're not bothered, they're still getting paid, it's so far wrong. It's untrue, and that's the thing I had, the mental side of dealing with injuries, because you're part of a team, but you have to deal with your injury on your own. And when the team's doing well and you're not part of it and you're injured, you do feel, like you're a watcher, and when the team's not doing well and you're injured, you feel like you're letting the team down because you're paid to be part of the team and you can't help. And that's what I struggled with. I don't know how the boys deal with social media, because back when I played, you had the odd fans forum on the internet, and that it used to, you're reading stuff written about you because we've all got huge egos. You love reading your star man, your this, your that. But the other side, when someone says something about you, you're human. Of course it hurts, and you take it to grant for, how these boys are dealing with the attention they get now, and the comments, and everyone has an opinion and a stat. These boys mentally are so strong.
Yeah, and how did you deal with that when you were injured as well, Carl?
I took myself away. After big matches, if we lost big matches, I was the worst. I lost playoff finals, and the teams would go back to the hotel, and you have the end of season. I'd go home and they wouldn't see me till pre-season. I struggled with things, and my way of coping was taking myself away and being on my own. But that obviously isn't a good coping mechanism. Now looking back, I was obviously hurting. I still struggle thinking about certain matches. The playoff final we lost for Sheffield United with Wolves, it took me many years to get over, and I'm delighted that everyone's now aware that there is a huge mental side to playing football and to sports, and they're helping, because the pressure on these lads now is much greater than it was when I played, and I struggled back then. So we need to respect that these boys they need help, and they are humans. They can't just take. It must hurt them. So just have a little bit of feelings towards them.
Yeah, and how do you deal as well, Tom, when you're injured and with your mental health going through that?
Yeah, I think injuries for me, especially in the last couple of years, have been a big thing. Like Carl spoke about, it sort of separate you from the team, but you're still part of the team. And your recovery, you're doing that solely because it's your injury. You're with a physio, or there might be another lad injured, and then, depending on times and injuries, you see them go out to start training with the team again, and you're left alone, especially with longer term injuries like I've had. And I think for me it was understanding that it's not a weakness to be aware of your own mental health. It's like as if you'd have a pain in your body and you just ignored it. And I think what was telling for me is that I did have things that I wasn't addressing, and I was just trying to cope, until I actually come out and spoke to my family, my friends, said things that I didn't feel I was particularly happy about, things that I was maybe struggling with. And it was just like a big weight off your own back, because you speak to your friends about it, next thing you know they're saying, well, I feel the same thing, or well, I feel this way, and you can relate to people and start to connect more, and you don't feel as isolated and just heavy, really. Yeah. And I think that's one thing that I particularly don't, I know a lot of men do. They try and act like the world's perfect, even though they may be picking up their own pieces and trying to stick them all back together. It can be hard. So I think that's what I was doing, and now I feel much better with just being able to be as open as I can with people, even strangers and people I've known for less time, because you don't know who else is struggling in the world. So.
And I know you just mentioned there, when you did open up to family members about your own mental health, especially because obviously with mental health, I think women find it easier to talk to their own friends, whereas men, I don't think, do open up about that enough, or feel like they can't sometimes. Did you find that any of your male friends or families opened up back a bit more as well?
Yeah, definitely. And I think our relationships now are far better than they were before. I think for me, everyone saw me as Tom the footballer, and that I'm a very happy person. That how can anything be wrong with him? He's doing the job he loves, and he's always happy when I see him. He's always smiling. He has a great life, great family. But yeah, by opening up to people, they see me as a human a bit more, rather than like this bulletproof footballer sort of thing. And yeah, from there, like, people open up to me and I open up to them, and yeah, you just understand someone in a whole different way. That I can now speak to my friends and understand when they're having a bad day, and when I need to lend my ear to them and they need to lend it to me. Which is great, really, because I don't know, life's about connecting with people and making good relationships, and if we all just hold on to what we've got and don't share anything, then it becomes a very isolated and solitary world, really. So I'm glad I have, and I'll continue to do that because it's something that makes my life a lot more happier.
And how important this is to both of you? How important do you both think it is for you as footballers and ex-footballers yourself, Carl, who have a social platform and maybe use football as that base in the ground to talk to the person next to them that they might not have spoken to before, or that might be a bit quiet, or a bit check in with anyone, really?
Yeah, I think football's changed massively over the last 10 to 15 years with the investment of money and social media, as you said. So there's a sort of age group that's had to adjust to that, but I think definitely now for younger people growing up, it's really important that we show that this is okay, because if we can break the mold and allow them people to have the spaces and safety to talk to the friends and break the stigmas of men and women having to deal with their own problems on their own, then that whole generation will then have a bit of healing themselves. And football is one of the perfect ways to do it because it reaches out to such a big audience. Kids at school are always playing it. You're part of a team. You have teammates. You have rival teams. But if we can make it a community that's an open space where you can speak to your teammates, you can speak to the fans, you can speak to other players, then for me it's only going to move in a good direction for everyone.
Yeah, and how about you, Carl?
Yeah, I think anything that can just to offer some conversation, or just to listen, or just to ask a question. You never know what the other person's life is. You don't know how they've been brought up, what they've experienced, and just asking, how are you doing? What's your team? And football is the icebreaker. You can just ask a couple of questions and it could help somebody through a tricky moment. You don't know what they're contemplating, what we're going through, what they're thinking about, and just taking their mind off something by a common interest, which is football, is wonderful. And, I speak with lots of people. I joke about football clubs, but it's just an icebreaker. I'm a happy-go-lucky person, and I think it's just nice to chat, because you never know what the next person's going through.
Thank you guys for both opening up and kickstarting a conversation on mental health. Really appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom Davies there talking with us about the Inside Matter campaign. Well, Carl, it's now the Ask a Sarber section. Are you ready for this?
When are you going to go home, Carl? When are you going to stop doing this, Carl? Yeah.
Right, our first one then, Carl, is from Charlie SUFC, sorry. He says, what's your favourite goal you've ever scored and favourite assist?
Overall, my favourite goal is probably my first goal at Wembley. It wasn't a wonder goal or anything. It was just a fact there was 80,000 there against Man City. And I still can't believe I've scored at Wembley. Favourite assist was also there. A back heel to my strike partner. But for Sheffield United, obviously my favourite goal, definitely the header at Hillsborough. I still can't believe that I was able to head the ball so accurately, because we all know, I have a 50p head, it would go off anywhere. So to get it right in the corner and watch Presman, scurry across and just flail at the end is wonderful. To this day, people still speak to me about it, and I'm delighted. And also, my favourite Blades assist was in that game where I was able to outmuscle Des Walker and lay it on to Lauren De Jaffo, who thumped it home with his left foot into the corner. So no, that was that day was very special.
Brilliant. Now, you mentioned Wembley a couple of times there. What games were they?
They were terrible games that I lost. Playoff finals against Man City. There was 80,000 there, and we were 2-0 up, and I came off in the 88th minute when we were 2-0 up, and the rest is history, because they came back and they equalised and beat us on penalties. Sad day.
Lovely. That's our question from Charlie. Right, our next one is from Harvey Spivey55. He says, Carl, your favourite moment at Bramall Lane?
Oh, simple. It's, oh my God, Paul Pesky-Salido. I wasn't actually on the pitch then. I'd come off. It's the greatest match. You know, even seeing Neil Warnock recently, his massive career, that's the best atmosphere he's ever managed. And many of my teammates who played at higher levels, best atmosphere. And for me, for it being Pesh, you know, anyone else score, it would have been wonderful because we would have won, but Pesh was special to us all. He was such a team player, such an incredible character, and such an incredible footballer. And the way he celebrated, you know, swinging his top, screaming, I'll never forget it. And that for me is my favourite moment at Bramall Lane.
Brilliant. Right, our next one is coming from Tom Sandringham. I'd like to know your goal of the season. We've scored a few corkers, to be fair.
The Crystal Palace away from kick-off. One of the best goals I've ever seen. You know, forget it being this season. Just how comfortable the players were on the ball, going into a match which was, you know, we'd had a tricky previous match. You're going at Selhurst Park where you're facing Eze and Elise and all these top players, and it was our Palace going to thump Sheffield United. And for Sheffield United players to be so composed on the ball, the passing was brilliant. The through ball at the end from Gus was incredible, and a wonderful finish. That was, you know, I'm there commentating, screaming my head off. Incredible goal, perfect team goal.
It was a great goal. Right, our next one is from Jada Gleeson. She says, who has been your favourite player this season?
Oh.
We know you've got a couple of favourites.
Yeah, well, you know, I think the world of Asula. I think he's got the future. Unfortunately, he's not got the goals that at the start of his season deserved. But for me, I've been totally blown away with Ollie Arblaster. His performances have been incredible. He came in, you know, from injury. He came back due to injury, and I thought, you know, I thought we were going to see him next season. And he's come, and the hype surrounding him that he's a serious player is, you know, it's downplayed. His performances against the top Premiership players have been outstanding. The way he carries himself, the way he reads the play, off the ball he affects the game so much. You know, it's not all about 30-yard passes and 50-yard shots, and the way he fills certain areas of the pitch to stop the opposition has been incredible. And getting to speak to him and hear him speak around the place, what an incredible boy. His family should be so proud of him. The academy here should be so proud of him, and he should be so proud of himself. I hope he works his socks off in the summer and continues, because, you know, you get goosebumps thinking what an incredible talent he is and what a lovely lad. So fingers crossed he gets to achieve next season all that he's got at his feet at the moment.
Yep, so much more to come from Ollie. Well, our next one is coming from Connor Wishart. He says, what are you looking forward to about next season?
Well, follow on from that last question. I want to see a return to the core values that we can, you know, as a Blade fan, that you respect and you want to see. You want to see the battling. You want to see the desire, and just giving it your all. We know you can't win every match. No one is expecting a season of invincibles, but there's ways to lose. And I know how Chris is. You know, the times we've had under Chris Wilder in the past are of the very best times the club have had. You know, it's up there with the very best. So you know he knows what he wants from his players and what makes it tick, and to get the bond back with the fans. I want this place to be a fortress again. You know, 4s and 5s against, it should never happen. Not consistently as well. So I'm looking forward to being on a more even playing field, because I think we all are well aware that the Premiership is now so biased towards the establishment. It's hard to make the transition, and they're stopping the way you try and bridge the gap now. They've got all the multi-million-pound technically gifted players. The referees are now stopping you being physical and trying to outwork and out-hunger the established teams by giving free kicks. So they're making it harder to bridge the gap, but I want us in the Championship to be competitive, and every game, if we lose, the other team are sat shattered, battered and bruised in the changing room saying, God, I'm glad we don't have to play them again next week.
Yeah, and I think the fans are definitely looking forward to that as well, Carl. Well, our last one then is coming from Isaac Kilcoyne, and this one is for you, Carl, and he says, when are you coming back out of retirement?
I think if he asked Tony Pulis and Neil Warnock, they were wanting me to go into retirement many more years before I actually did. So it's, I look back really fondly on my career and I love my times, and I'm just enjoying being able to watch the players, the young lads here, and watching them progress and being able just to speak about it. So no, it's been wonderful being involved in this another year. Very tough year, so well done to everybody, all the social media work that was put in, because it's been a challenging year and we like trying to be positive, and it's been hard work, but no, I've loved it all, so no, thank you.
It has. Well, that's all our questions, and thank you, Blaze, for sending them in, for asking Carl in our Ask a Sarber section. Fab. Well, Carl, let's move on then, looking forward to our last game of the season this weekend as we host Tottenham. What are you hoping for out of that one? You just mentioned a little bit briefly there in those questions.
I'm hoping Ange has gone off on his early holiday and Ange Ball is not part of anything. No, we saw them play last night. They're a wonderful team, Tottenham. Wonderful, hugely talented players, expensive players, technically gifted. They work their socks off. It's as hard a match as you could want, especially we're already relegated. There's lots of players who know whether they're going to be here or not next season, and Tottenham need points. Tottenham still need to perform, so it's going to be a massively testing afternoon. But I'm expecting everything I always expect. You playing in a Blade shirt in a professional match with paying fans who are here, who idolise you. You've got to give it all, and the manager will be wanting it again. He got very emotional away at Everton because he didn't believe that the fans' support was meriting, what they're seeing on the pitch. So I just want everything. I want the boys to give it their all, and see how we go.
And obviously this is a team that are looking to secure their place to the Europa League. They only need a point from us from this game, but obviously they're going to come all guns blazing.
Well, of course, they've seen other teams come here and score a number of goals. If you're going to have the strikers in the Tottenham team desperate to score. Everyone wants to score, wants to do well. So to go out on a high in your last game is massive, because it sets you up for pre-season, it sets you up for the following season. So Tottenham are going to be, and if you remember the last time Tottenham were here, I'm videoing a selfie, waving them off after we beat them in the cup. So they'll remember what happened last time they were here. They got beaten. They'll want to put it right. And it's going to be a very, very tough game.
And imagine if we could cause a bit of upset for their final game of the season, Carl. Just the reaction for the fans that would give.
Yeah, I don't think we should worry about causing them upset, or just derailing their. It's about giving these fans a moment to cheer, a final home game in the Premiership. Bouncing straight back with the number of changes that are going to have to be made is not straightforward. The manager and the recruitment team have got a huge job on. The likes of Man United, Arsenal, Man City, you see they make 3 or 4 changes in a window. It's huge, because each change is a gamble and you don't know how these players are going to settle in. So Man City don't make 8 or 9 changes because it's hard and it's not easy to predict. So that's what we've got to do in the close season. We've got a lot of changes to do. So I hope we can send the fans off with a final, we know what it's about. We know what's required next season, and look forward to seeing us, because the fans, the moment the final whistle goes, all they're doing, they're trying to get news and who we're getting, because it's all about what happens next season.
Yeah, well, looking at their players as well, Richarlison for them picked up a bit of an injury against Burnley. Looking at our starting 11, who would you like to see?
Whoever the manager sees fit. It's no point me saying I want this person to play because he's my favourite. I get on, I've had a nice chat with him in a corridor. That means nothing. Chris and his coaching staff see the players day on day, how they're training, what their form's like, and the best team to win. I just hope whoever he puts out performs and gives it their all, because I know it's been tough, and I know they're up against it. We didn't get the recruitment we needed, but I'd still think there's players out there who will think they could have done a bit more, and I hope this final game they give it their all, because there's nothing worse than regrets.
Something we are going to see on Sunday as well, Carl, before the game, is players who are leaving, 5 players who are leaving for us. Absolutely.
You know, a vital key role in one of the best ever teams. His overlapping centre back was, you know, it was scouted by coaches. Coaches used to come and watch the training and watch the matches because it was revolutionary. Wonderful player. He's part of so many incredible moments, for, you know, iconic moments. Basham arriving, you know, he is everything that you want. You know, he's a lovely person. He plays incredible football, and he lived and breathed for the club. So an incredible man, and, you know, I'm glad that we're going to be able to give him a fitting send-off. Same George Baldock, 7 years. I think if the Blades fans could pick the DNA of future players to be signed against and to match up against, I think everybody loves what George Baldock brings. His energy, his aggression, his enthusiasm, his desire, we'll just keep listening. You know, he is perfection in what you want, and his football is brilliant also. You know, you talk about all these other attributes which are more mental and inside. With the ball, he is incredible, and again, part of one of the best ever Blades teams. 6 years service, Oliver Norwood. For me, I know he's highly rated, but I still don't think people understand just what an incredible player he was. He could do anything. I've not seen anybody in the Championship pass with his ability. Just technically perfect. Always wanting the ball. And, you know, out of 10 passes, which were wonder passes, he'd you know, people would pick up on the one that would be adrift. But I think he was a wonderful, wonderful servant, and he's going to leave a massive void. You know, I think you've seen this season, we've tried to replace him with 2 players to do the one job, which speaks volumes of just how incredible Oliver is. And again, a person who lived for the club, and we must be really, really proud of him. Wes had four years and just improved. You know, his season last year was a massive reason why we got promoted. He kept us in games. He had an aura about him whether strikers thought they had to overshoot to try and find the corners because he played so well. Massive part, massive character, and you know, he's leaving massive gloves to fill. And then Max Lowe, who I thought was a wonderful player. His energy up and down, he caused so many problems down the left side for other teams. He's been with us for 4 years. Unfortunate, he suffered a lot of injuries here. But again, the fans, when he played, they understood what he offered. And, you know, in our promotion year, I think everyone will remember him chasing back, you know, coming from nowhere at a vast speed to an all-important defensive tackle. He's a great player and will be missed. So I wish him all the best.
Thanks, Carl. Well, that's all we've got time for on today's preview show. And of course, it is our last one of the season. But Carl and Paul will be there pitchside on Sunday for our pre-match show via X. But we'll see you next season. Up the Blades.